Hi, I'm Shannon, and I'm going to show you the basic functions of the Panasonic HMC 150s today. So we'll start with the basic parts of the camera. The front you have your lens, which is pretty much where you record everything because that's the visual part of the camera. It captures everything in front of you. And then for your viewing, you have your viewfinder, which is a screen here. The camera's not on because we don't have a battery in it yet. You also have your eyepiece, and that will essentially just show you in a smaller view what you're seeing on your viewfinder. So if you already have your battery in place and your SD card is in, and so your SD card goes here, it even says SD on it, there's a little open slot. Just pull that back and pop your SD card in. Your battery pack sits right in there where the space is. Again, we don't have a battery pack in it right now. So if you do have all this set up though, one of the first things you're going to want to do is white balance. One of the key features about this camera is that it actually has an auto white balance right there. So if you have a solid white surface or image or picture, you want to line it up in front of the camera, and you're going to want to zoom in as close as possible and hit your auto white balance button again right there, and then it'll come up as on the screen as ABB, and that just means that it's auto white balanced, and it'll say OK, and that means the camera is set and you're free to shoot. This is what a camera looks like before you white balance, and this is what it looks like after you white balance. I'm going to actually show you how to put the battery pack in. So like I said, it's just at the back of the camera here. If you just slide it in and then slide it down, there's a little arrow there that tells you it'll just fall right into place. So if you come over to the side of your camera here, you can actually just turn the camera on. It says power. And once you switch that, you'll get an image on your viewfinder. We don't have an SD card in, which is why it's saying no card. But you can still see the basic function of the camera. If you come over to the side of the camera here, you have your zoom functions, and I'll show you those on the viewfinder in a second, but there's also one at the top and on the side. It just depends on if you're using the camera on a tripod or a handheld, whichever one's easier, because there is a slot here for you to throw your hand in and that you can use to zoom with. So if you just come over here on the viewfinder, you can watch a slow zoom right in there. That's what it'll look like. It is blurry because you have to focus, and there are different focusing features. So you can just focus directly here on the lens, and you just have to control whether the ring is in charge of the iris, so the part of the camera that opens up to allow the light in, or the focus ring. Right now it is on focus. So before you actually capture any sort of shots, you're going to have to zoom in all the way on your subject or object, focus up, and then pull back. And if your subject or object is still kind of blurry, that means you need to recheck your back focus, but we'll get into that later. So right now your subject is out of focus, and the best way to actually get them into focus would be to zoom in like we are now on something that has a lot of detail like facial hair, eyes, even just like your chin or a collar that has a pattern on it. And so if you turn your ring, your focus ring, you'll actually be able to see that your subject's coming more into focus. And once you have your subject or object in focus, you can zoom out to again see if everything's focused, and that relates to, again, like I said, your back focus. So if you're ever shooting in the field, which will eventually happen, and if it's ever sunny outside, you might have an overexposed shot. So the best way to deal with that would be to go to your neutral density filters, and essentially those are like sunglasses for your camera. So there are a few different filters here. Off, you're going to want it off while you're inside because the lighting shouldn't overexpose your subject or talent, and if it does, that just means you need to adjust your iris. We'll go into that in a minute. And there's a 1/4, 16th, and a 64th filter, so we'll show you what that looks like next. So this is what it looks like when the filter's off. This is what it looks like when it's a 1/4, and this is what it looks like as a 16th, and this is what it looks like at 1/64th. You want to record audio for your film. There is a microphone on the camera, but this is going to capture a lot of ambient sounds as well, so you might not be able to get the talent's voice. So what you can do is on the side of the camera here, there's 2 spots for line mics. So essentially they're just for XLR cables, which you can attach to certain handhelds or boom mics, which we're actually using right now. And if you want to make sure you're hearing the audio and that it's actually being recorded, the back of the camera, there's a little slot here and this is pretty close, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there is a spot for your headphones, and that's important because you want to make sure that you're actually capturing the audio that you think you are. So this has been the very basics and bare bones of the HMC 150s. Fanshawe, we've got you covered.